All right, so I want to do something a little bit different here. We're not going to talk exactly about the forecast, but I want to talk about how we forecast. This is for that Sunday into Monday, Martin Luther King storm. We've been talking about it for a number of days here. We have a full forecast at pressac.com/weather. But I want to show you something called Ensemble forecasting. Ensemble forecasting is taking one computer model, like the GFS model you see here, and slightly tweaking the initial variables so that we have an idea of the possibilities that could happen with the storm. Where you're seeing those L's is where you're seeing various low pressure systems on this model run here. And based on the position of the low, is going to be dependent on what we see, because low pressure systems spin counterclockwise. That means the direction of the wind can be different. So let me show you what this means to me. For the majority of these low pressure systems, they are either onshore or they're just offshore. That means a lot of southeasterly winds, easterly winds, warmer winds, and it's mostly, if not completely, rain. Now, there are a number of solutions that are a little further offshore. I would say it's about a 70-30 split, but a number of solutions that are further offshore where we get a little more colder air with this, and it could be snow turning to rain and maybe even turning to snow on the back end briefly. Wouldn't be a lot of snow, but if you're a winter weather lover, at least something to get you by. Now, let's look at the European model here. The European model has actually even more ensemble members than the GFS, and a lot of them are further to the west. In fact, a large majority of them, maybe 80% of them, 85%, are close to shore or they're over land. And if it's over land, we're going to be all rain here. But even if it's just offshore, it's mostly rain. A few scenarios are showing snow to rain. That would mean it's a little more offshore. That means a little more of a northerly component to the wind, a little more colder air. And this guy over here, he's kind of the lone ranger out here, and he's saying, you know what, this storm's going to be so far offshore that we're actually going to see mostly or even completely all snow here. Very unlikely. That's about a 5 or 10% chance. Now, I think the biggest concern for us, again, is the winds, and this isn't going to matter so much on the location. I will say if the storm is very close to us or goes over New Jersey, then it's going to be stronger, and that's kind of what this solution's painting. Look at the winds, 51 miles an hour sustained, not gusting, sustained winds, 49 in Atlantic City. This is pretty much saying we're going to get a period of tropical storm force winds here, and in gusts could even be even higher. This is something we've seen a lot of in past storms, where you're seeing those yellows and browns, really strong winds just above the surface, about 2,500 feet tall. Not all that high in the grand scheme of things. What it's showing here is a sting jet, or a jet with that's pretty confined, and also a jet stream that's fairly strong that's moving onshore. 72 knots in Atlantic City, that's about 80 miles an hour. Now, you need something to drag it down. And the two things that would do that are thunderstorms, which are not ruled out, but probably unlikely, or very heavy precipitation, which I would say is a better shot than a thunderstorm, but still relatively unlikely. Usually in these scenarios in January, they don't shape up. We're still going to be very windy, but we're not going to see that extreme wind. So plan on the strong winds, plan on the potential for damaging winds or even power outages, but I kind of want to show you an idea of how we're forecasting and what I'm looking at as we get into a good forecast for you. And again, you can check that out on our website at pressac.com/weather.